system of economics theory, which is not Marxist or Engels or not Adam Smith and free trade. It's not John Maynard Keynes. It's a system called physical economics, and this is what was originally implemented in the United States. It's what Franklin Delano Roosevelt represented. It's what Lincoln represented. The idea is that money has no intrinsic value. What has value is the actual physical economy that sustains the people. Okay, and the purpose of any system of credit is to promote the general welfare of the development of the people. The alternative system is called, is some form of monetary system, which is really an imperial system, where the money changers essentially use the control over money to control nations and to control what happens. And in most cases, they don't want development. They want to create more money, not development. So the pioneers of physical economics go back to Charlemagne, go back to the Renaissance. Wilhelm Gottfried Leibniz was key. Benjamin Franklin was one of these people. So was Alexander Hamilton. And so was Lincoln. And so was a great economist of the 1800s, Henry C. Carey, whose father was also a great, Matthew Carey was also a great physical economist. And that was how the United States became so powerful industrially, and also by extension Canada. However, we have been assaulted with a whole different kind of system of money, the free trade, globalization, money supply. John Maynard Keynes' idea was to control the economy by creating demand through expanding the money supply. We're now at the end of that system. Alan Greenspan was the last of that. So now the modern individual most associated with this perspective is Lyndon LaRouche, and it's his proposals to reorganize the banking system under a system of re-regulation and promoting the development of nations is the key here. Now, what was meant by physical economy? All right, the human society is a reproductive system. They produce and they consume. The issue is, does the process of production and the process of consumption create a greater potential for future production and future consumption? If it does, then you have an increase of the physical economy, the increasing density of productive capabilities, and that economy is increasing its what's called relative potential population density. What is it capable of supporting? On the other hand, if parasites and speculators take over the economy, then you begin to lower. You're not replacing your system. You begin to lower the productive potential of the economy, so that even though your population may be increasing, your potential population is decreasing. And at a certain point, your economy breaks down, and you have a situation where your relative potential population density capability falls way below your actual population, and that's when your actual population will start to fall away, start to collapse as well. So we measure this in terms of the activity of production and consumption per square kilometer. For instance, take Haiti. Haiti has a very low production and consumption and very low infrastructure. So when an earthquake hits, Haiti's devastated. 250,000 people or more die just off the earthquake. Where you have a real infrastructure and development, an earthquake hits, and the infrastructure is able to withstand to a large degree the shock of the earthquake. That's the difference right there between what physical economy really is. Okay, in a physical economy, increasing amount of your product has to go towards research and development, and also into developing the skilled workforce and into healthcare. To be able to have a skilled workforce that can actually go with an increasing industrialization and development. If you don't have those, you can't do it. So essentially, that's how you measure it. That's what physical economics is. Now, one of the key things that transforms your physical economy is if you can connect the area, the geography, through rail. Otherwise, you're left with connections of geography through sea. The problem with the sea is that you don't control the seas. The boats, the ships
Shipping lanes.
go between ports. There's nothing there. So this is what physical economics is all about. It's about planning. It's about development. It's about doing things. Also, you have to maintain the ecology. You have to maintain the environment. That's part of your physical economy. You have to sustain it. If you move from agriculture as it is now to hydroponics to aeroponics, you're moving your agriculture indoors. You're actually going to have to manage parks and things like this. So essentially, the idea of physical economy is something that's totally lacking in our political class, in our academic world, and most of all, economies. They don't have a sense of physical economics. Now, when you're in a monetary system like the one we've been under, what you have is an increasing component of the expansion of the financial paper is increasingly non-productive, and then you have an increasing amount of monetary activity going to non-productive areas, and a decreasing part of that is going into the productive part. So over time, as these financial instruments expand, you're creating greater and greater divergence between the ascribed financial values of things to the actual physical value. Then you have to suck out more physical value to sustain the financial part, and it just becomes a process which ultimately leads to a collapse. And we're in that collapse now.
It's a parasitic system.
But what happened in October of last year, 2009, is the Chinese decided not to dump their dollars, but to work out agreements with Russia for the massive development of the resources of eastern Russia, which includes Siberia, where a lion's share of the untapped resources of the world are. And this is how China is trying to avoid both a dollar collapse, but also trying to put the dollars to work as collateral for credit for the development of vast interior of Russia, which is necessary for the future development of all of Eurasia, and also China, which has has 800 or 900 million people are living in total poverty. This could mean a replacement of the monetary system with the credit system. But ultimately, you have to get the four powers, Russia, China, India, and the United States, to agree to the rules of a new arrangement, which would be a fixed relationship between their credit systems in terms of the values of their currency of credit. And that four-power agreement, other nations can come in. And then we do that, each nation has a credit system that promotes its development, and then it works out treaty agreements for what it needs in terms of credit for trade. So it's not a system of fluctuating currencies, which is what happened after the deregulation of the system when the dollar was taken off the gold reserve system. It's not a system of fluctuating currencies. But when you have a system of fluctuating currencies, then you have fluctuating interest rates. And you have fluctuating interest rates, everything goes screwy. Fluctuating interest rates, fluctuating currencies are the marker of a monetary system. And then the central bank has to follow suit with monetary expansion to deal with the currency speculation and with the interest rate going up and down and what have you. This creates an instability in the system and creates a complete unnecessary tie-up of money in speculation as hedging rather than putting those funds to work in the real economy. I think that if the Canadian Action Party actually put together a coherent plan to deal with the economic crisis, studying what FDR did, studying what the Glass-Steagall standard, and put this together and went out in the middle of this crisis with the Canadian population, you will be essentially transforming Canadian politics. You may not necessarily get people elected, but there's a tremendous political vacuum emerging in all countries, Canada included, the United States as well. And people don't see their politicians presenting any solution. So the Canadian Action Party, if it were to actually present a real solution, to the economic issue and let the other issues forget the other issues.
So there you have it, guys. This is Kevin Kelso. I want to tell the Canadian Action Party that I really believe in these principles, and I think that we need to form an alliance between the like-minded movements out there that have a similar vision. So what Paula here is offering is to help us to develop our economic policy to become a more comprehensive plan, and he's actually willing to do a teleconference with us and go over the details and answer questions and talk it out. So I really think that we should take him up on this offer and at least hear him out and see what he can contribute, and we can go from there. Take it or leave it, but at least hear him out. So let me know and I'll try and set it up. Thanks, guys.
That was brilliant. I implemented in the United States. It's what Franklin Delano Roosevelt represented. It's what Lincoln represented. It's the idea is that money has no intrinsic value. What has value is the actual physical economy that sustains the people. So the pioneers of physical economics go back to Charlemagne, go back to the Renaissance. Wilhelm Gottfried Leibniz was key. Benjamin Franklin was one of these people. So was Alexander. He used the control over money to control nations and to control what happens. And in most cases, they don't want development. They want to create more money, not development. Okay, and the purpose of any system of credit is to promote the general welfare of the development of the people. The alternative system is called is some form of monetary system, which is really an imperial system, where the money changers essentially system of economics theory, which is not Marxist or Engels or not Adam Smith and free trade. It's not John Maynard Keynes. It's a system called physical economics, and this is what was originally